friends. I'm your host, Erin Port, and welcome to the Simple Purposeful Living podcast. Life can be overwhelming and busy, so once a week, I invite you to join me, and together we will make simple tweaks to uncomplicate the hard parts of our life so we can spend more time doing what we love. If you've ever opened your fridge, found a soggy bag of spinach or moldy berries and thought, there goes $7 straight into the trash, well, this episode is for you. Today, I'm talking with Amy Cross, urban homesteader and founder of the Cross Legacy, whose viral kitchen hacks have helped families save up to 40% on their grocery bill by learning how to actually make their food last. Amy's approach is practical, doable, and totally in line with my tiny tweak philosophy that small changes can save time, money, and stress. This time in the kitchen. From the strawberry hack that broke the internet to fridge systems that reduce food waste, she's sharing her best advice for busy women who are tired of wasting food and money. You're going to walk away with tips you can try today, probably even before dinner. So let's dive in. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to meet new people and to be here.
So, Amy, for those who haven't met you yet, can you tell us a little bit more about your story, how the Cross Legacy came to be, and how you became the go-to source for produce hacks?
Well, right in the middle of the pandemic, I was on social media and I was on somebody else's Facebook page, actually Jordan Page's
Yes.
shelf cooking page. Yes. And so she was like my biggest hero, and being able to talk to some of the moms that were on there that were scared, right in the middle of the pandemic when we were scared to go to the grocery store, we were scared to leave the house, we were wiping down boxes when we brought them into the house, like all of those feelings that we all had when we were going to the grocery store or having to take our children out of the house to go to the grocery store. Like we all remember these things. And the shelves being empty too was also like super scary during that time. And so I was trying to give some hope on her page and answer some questions. And I kept seeing these questions of, I'm only trying to leave the house for once every 2 weeks. And so we only have produce in the house for the first 4 days. And then there's no produce. And I kept thinking like, what do you mean? And then people were like replying back, well, blueberries only last 4 days. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like my blueberries in my fridge are a month old right now. Like blueberries will last 6 to 8 weeks. Like you can go to the grocery store and get everything that you need and keep your produce fresh for a month. So all of the techniques and tips that I have learned over the last decades of my life have really made so we have a zero wasted produce. And I only go grocery shopping once every 3 to 4 weeks. And we have produce the entire time in our house. So I started answering these questions, and then all of a sudden Jordan, who was like my biggest hero, messaged me, and she's like, Amy, you know a secret here that people just don't know. And she's like, can I share this? And then I was like, oh, well, I don't know if I want my personal Instagram being shared. And so I decided to start right there that day. It was the end of June, almost exactly 4 years ago now. She shared a brand new Instagram page for me, which I named the Cross Legacy. Our last name is Cross, and that's our family motto. And so she shared a picture of my fridge, and then a couple weeks later, we shared some of my strawberries. And over the 4th of July weekend, that weekend, we were in the middle of a kitchen remodel and had nothing, just studs in this kitchen. And that weekend, I had spent in the office on July 3rd, and I decided I was going to make a website to start making some of these instructions so people could follow them along. And that website, Strawberries in a Jar, went up on July 3rd, that very first weekend. And in October, like 12 weeks later, it went completely viral. And then I was in newspapers in the UK and the next day. Like it was just, it's been life changing. It's this whole journey for the last 4 years has been life changing. But I can teach people how to keep 75 different produce items fresh for weeks.
Oh my gosh. This is so fascinating to me. Okay, so we've got to start because people are probably like turning up the volume, like, okay, I'm going to listen to this on 1 time speed so I don't miss a thing. But let's start with the strawberry hack that literally broke the internet. What is it? How does it work? And why does it save families so much money?
So I actually had a TED talk about this, about keeping your strawberries fresh longer, because it really did break the internet at the time. Like it was shared over 18 million times those
Wow.
last few days. And if you ever saw strawberries in a jar on the internet, that was me that started that. So make
Goodness.
sure that you're following my instructions when you're doing this, because a lot of people have tried to copy it over the years, and I've literally been doing this for decades now. But when you're washing it, you want to wash it with 5% distilled white vinegar, which will kill off any mold spores, E. coli, Listeria, or any other harmful pathogens on your produce items. And most of the items I do wash with the vinegar wash. There are some that are a little bit different, but those are the ones that I wash. And you never want to add vinegar and baking soda together, because those will neutralize each other and neither one of them will do the cleaning. So it looks cool on videos, like people are posting it on videos, but it's actually doing nothing to actually protect your produce items. And when you're doing this, it's a quarter cup of distilled white vinegar to 10 cups of water. And you want to set a timer for 2 minutes. It's so important. And, if you have littles in the house and that they can bob the berries in the water, that's really great. So they're getting washed on all of the sides. But it's really important that it's only 2 minutes. If it's longer than that, then the berries or any produce can get waterlogged and start fermenting and they don't dry back out. And then you lay them out on the towel to dry. And then they go into a glass jar with a paper towel at the bottom. Berries are like one of the only ones that actually do better with a plastic lid. And most of the other items I use a metal lid on it. So a plastic lid is porous and will let a little bit of the condensation out, where a metal lid is completely airtight, and you use that for some of the other items that we will talk about in a few minutes. But strawberries will last around 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, especially if you're getting them in the summertime. Blackberries and raspberries is like that 2 to 3 week mark. You have to remember too, like, are you buying it locally? Is it coming all the way from Mexico? So, that 2 to 3 week from harvest, is normally what they'll last after they get home. And then blueberries, I already said, is the 6 to 8 weeks, and grapes is a berry, and that's 4 to 6 weeks. So you can like literally go grocery shopping and get all these different produce items and be able to spread them out and share them with your family without having to worry about them going bad. But I'm actually a foster mom, and we had four under seven that were living with us for a while, and they came into our house knowing colors, but not necessarily knowing produce items, because they were used to things in packages and not, like gummy bears and stuff instead of fruit snacks, instead of actual fruit. And so when we started moving everything into the glass storage, it was mainly so I could open up the fridge and say, look, like, what color do you want? Which one do you want? Can you pick? And to be able to, like, one of them wanted this one and one wanted that one, and to know that I could buy all this produce and have it in my house and it would last, and, have all those options without having any food waste. So my TED Talk was about the fact that the average family is throwing away over 40% of the food that we're buying. And that's one of the reasons why we're able to stick to a grocery budget that's $135 per person. And currently, there's only two here in our house. So for the last over a year, there's only been two here. And so our grocery budget has been $270 per month for a mostly organic family in the Seattle area, which is one of the highest cost living areas. So, like, we can do this. Everybody can do this. Like, you can do those small little tweaks and save money on groceries and really have that, hope back in your kitchen that you're not wasting food and not wasting time and money.
Oh my goodness. This is so inspiring. First of all, I'm like doing the math. I'm like, okay, I'm buying in. I love that it started because you were fostering and you wanted them to be able to pick that. Okay, so quick follow-up on the strawberry hack. How long do you let them dry on the counter? Like, is it dry to touch and then you put them in a dry mason jar and then tw twist it? Is that kind of how you do it?
So I only go grocery shopping once every 3 to 4 weeks. And when I come home from the grocery store, it takes about a half an hour to wash
Okay.
all the items. And then, like, I rest.
Okay.
Like, I am like really happy to rest for a few hours or have dinner or whatever. And it just depends on the season and how warm it is in your house too. But it normally takes around 2 to 3 hours
Okay.
to dry all the produce, and then you can put it away. And on those produce washing days, your kids are going to eat more produce, and that's okay. Like, My husband will walk by and grab a cherry tomato, and he never eats tomatoes. Like it's just like, oh, that's interesting. And as you learn some of the techniques that I teach on YouTube and stuff, like if a berry is bruised a little bit, it's not a great one to store. So those are ones that I'll put towards the edge of the counter to like encourage my family to eat like right away, instead of, picking one of the ones that will last longer in storage.
My goodness, so many good tweaks here. This is awesome. Okay, so you mentioned that your grocery budget is $270 for your husband and you, and you say that you can save a family up to 40% on their groceries by changing just how they care for their food. So, we've talked about the strawberry hack, a little bit about berries, but what are some other tweaks that help people save money on groceries?
So, well, all different produce items. So, if you're like going to the grocery store all the time because you need to get avocados, that used to be something that I used to go to the grocery store probably 2 to 3 times a week to go get avocados because they only last like 2 days, it seems like. That little tweak of putting them in your crisper drawer when you bring them home with other citrus, especially lemons, will get an avocado to last for a month. And so you can buy more at one time and save a lot of money that way. And then whenever I'm cooking something, like I try to be able to batch cook when I'm making dinner. Like I don't do meal prep days. Like when I'm making dinner, if I'm making something that I can spread out, especially adding produce too, so it helps save money, but it goes into the freezer into meal prep containers so we can have it for lunches or dinners, whatever we're doing. But taking that 2 pounds of taco meat and making all the taco meat, so I only have to cook it that one night, but I got 6 dinners out of that. It's just so many time saving things that I do just every week. So every week I try to make at least one thing that is batch cooked that I put into the freezer so we always have those meals that we can rotate out. And if something's really easy to grab out of the freezer and defrost, or it can be heated, right from there, then you're less likely to want to go get takeout. So we have had a challenge this whole entire year that we have not had any takeout. We've had takeout 2 times and one the power was out, but takeout 2 times, and we're in the process of moving, so there's like construction going on everywhere. We're packing like all of the things, but because we wanted to be able to buy new furniture and different things, we cut out all of those takeout budgets, and then we have kept a little bit of like special occasion going out, like making memory kind of things in our budget. But it's been really important to me to make sure that we're using the things that we bring into our house for ingredients and that we're making our meals. And even during this moving process, we're making sure that we're not wasting anything. But I have learned over the years that the average family, no matter what size they are spending at least $1,000 at the grocery store a month. And, it's, college age parents that are used to buying for bigger families. And then all of a sudden it's two, and, they're not used to that, or they're throwing away so much food every single month, or just going to the grocery store. When you used to go to the grocery store to grab that avocado, it used to be, $25 that you were grabbing a couple other things. Now you can't seem to walk out of the store without spending $100. And if you're doing that a couple times a week, like,
Mhm.
it's really adding up. And people are thinking that there's no other options for that, and there really is. And we post all of my grocery hauls, and every week, 2 weeks on YouTube, we also post like meals that I've made in the last 2 weeks. So you can really see what the ingredients are that we're bringing into the house and then how I'm using them, and, and giving inspiration for ideas for others to either batch cook or pull things out of the freezer or rethink the ingredients that you have in your house.
I love that. I love that. And sometimes you just need somebody else's inspiration. I'm huge on sharing my meal plan too, because it's like, okay, first of all, it doesn't have to be fancy to feed your family. And second of all, sometimes you just get in a dinner rut and you're like, oh, I totally forgot about, shrimp tacos, or totally forgot about, I was the other day, I was like, I haven't had Philly cheesesteaks in forever, right? And so you just getting into that routine. Um,
I have a fun little trick for that. If you take a picture of your dinner, I have a meal planner and I write down what we've had. But if you take a picture of your dinner, then your memories like pop up. So like, next summer it's like, oh yeah, I really liked when we had that. So, especially if it's something that you're like, oh, we don't make this very often, just take a picture and then your memories on your phone will just pop them up and it really helps. So,
I
shrimp
love
tacos
that
was actually
little.
one a couple of days ago that popped up and I was just like, oh yeah, like I need a fresh mango in the house because we normally have mangoes with that and
Yes. Oh my
but
gosh.
it's
That
it's a it's a fun little hack that I've been doing for years that just helps you remember through the seasons, what sounds good, especially when like seasons are changing because
hmm
our meals seem like they're pretty much the same, fall and winter and then spring and summer. We have like two kind of separate meal plans of what we make. And so taking those pictures actually helps. And then I write them also in my meal plan journal. And so I have like 10 years worth of what we actually ate, and I can go back and look and like, oh yeah, I liked when I added, this to that recipe and I make little notes and stuff. And it really does help being able to flip back through those kind of memories and to make your life easier.
I love that. That's so good. Okay, so where do people go wrong when it comes to food storage? Like, is there one area where you're like, ooh, that's like a no-no? And then what's a tiny tweak you can make to move forward in the right direction?
So some of the items we don't wash, and when you're bringing them home, like corn on the cob and cauliflower, are like two right off the bat that I think about. Or cilantro is pretty common, and asparagus that people just bring them home and they keep them in the plastic bag that they got at the grocery store, and they put them in their crisper, and they're not going to last very long. So corn on the cob, if you don't peel back the husk when you pick it out. So I try to fill up the top of the corn on the cob to see if the kernels are formed. But it will actually last in your crisper like 2 to 3 weeks. Again, depending on how long since it's been harvested, and that'll last in the crisper drawer. But if you have it in the plastic bag, it's not going to last very long because it makes some waste environment in there. Cauliflower is another one, like you want to get it out of the plastic immediately. That's one that I actually wash in salt water and not the vinegar water. So the salt water kills off cabbage bugs and any of that family kind of items. So cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage. So it will also kill off the listeria and other things on there, but it will kill the bugs that are in that. And that's just the way that I was raised. I was raised on a 200-acre farm, and that's just how we did it. So that's how I have continued to do things. So, and then asparagus and cilantro and parsley, those will all last over a month when you're storing them correctly. So I wash those in the vinegar wash and then I break off the ends or cut off the ends on those and I put them in a little jar that has filtered water in it. So whatever water you want to drink. So our tap water has too much chlorine in it and it will kill plants. And so whatever water that you normally drink is what you want to put into the jars. But asparagus will last over a month in the refrigerator. So that's normally one of the items that I'm like eating towards the end of our grocery cycle. So, and then cilantro and parsley will last 6 to 8 weeks. So normally I'll get one at the grocery store this time and one at the grocery store next time. And then we always have fresh cilantro and parsley in the refrigerator. So it's just learning all these different tips that I teach. Again, our book, The Zero Waste Produce Guide, has 75 produce items and how we keep them fresh for weeks.
That is incredible. Okay, are you putting the cilantro and parsley in any water like you are with the asparagus, like a little mason
Yes.
jar, almost like a floral
A
bouquet,
jelly
if
jar.
you will?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like flowers in your fridge. And then around every 10 days or whenever I go to use them, so if I'm making tacos or something, I'll pull it out and I will just trim off a 1/4 inch of the bottom of it, which will open up the vascular system of the plant and it'll keep sucking up water because it gets calloused over at the bottom and it stops sucking up water. And then also when I'm doing that trimming off the end, then I will change out the water. So it gets fresh water in it again. But you just make sure that there's water in it in your refrigerator. Those do really well in our doors on our refrigerator. They don't move around at all. So it's kind of fun. You open up the refrigerator and, there's just beautiful things everywhere. And it entices you to want to eat the things that are actually in your refrigerator.
Okay, so I've heard that works for flowers, and so it's the same, I mean, which would make sense that it would work for parsley and cilantro as well. So My mind is blown. This is awesome. Okay, so your work aligns so much with what I share, which is simple, sustainable tweaks that make life easier and more intentional. So, what encouragement would you offer to the mom who feels like she's failing in the kitchen right now?
I I believe that you can bring hope back to the kitchen.
Mm,
Like we were an allergy family. I have reflective sympathetic dystrophy, which for 2 years I wasn't able to open my hands.
mm,
And our dad had to move in with us to help me because like we didn't know what was wrong with me. And so we've went through these seasons of our lives with major medical things happening and different things and just the kitchen being such a stressful thing instead of it being this place of hope and this place of, being excited to be in there. And I think the more that you can get your kids involved and, making the meals or helping with the meals or, even like we do every time the school bus used to drop the kids off, we always had like a board of veggies and a protein dip, because that was what they had when they got home from school. We like taught them how to eat a rainbow every day, but to really like get them involved and get them wanting to help in the kitchen really helps the overall stress. And just knowing that you can afford the groceries, like
mm.
it doesn't have to be a stressful thing. So if you are making dinner one night and you're knowing that you're putting some of those meals away in the freezer, that they're there for you for a busy night, to pull back out again. But just the financial stress that everybody is under right now, knowing that you can afford groceries, you can afford organic groceries if that's a priority for you. You can have the food in your house that you need to last not only just to payday, but to longer and enjoy those times that you have with your family in the kitchen and around the table instead of it just being such a stressful thing all the time.
I love that. Such a good reminder. Hard fought truth from your own struggle in your life. Okay, so we're going to flip it to five rapid fire, or a couple, not five, but a couple of rapid fire questions because I just love to end podcasts with these and I always find so much value in them. So, number one, first thing, well, you kind of mentioned it, but first thing you do when you get home from the grocery store.
Normally I get a rotisserie chicken. People will, hate or love it or whatever, but I always think a rotisserie chicken is better than stopping and getting takeout.
Yep.
And so, right when we're getting home from the grocery store, we're normally taking a few minutes to eat really quickly and then, start putting things away. But normally that is when I am washing all of our produce, and it only takes about a half an hour. So, I make sure that we eat and, we're washing the produce.
It's a very colorful meal too. I love that. What do you guys normally have with your rotisserie chicken? Fresh fruits and vegetables?
Yeah, whatever we're picking off the counter.
I love it. I love it. It's like a little snack board, literally.
Yeah, it's really easy. Like $5, it's easy. Like I say that we're an 80-20 family. So
Yep.
80% of the things that we buy are organic and all the things. And, sometimes a rotisserie chicken is better than getting takeout. And I'm okay with that. Once a month. I go grocery shopping once a month. I'm okay with it.
I
So
love it. I love it. Okay, most surprising item people are storing wrong in their fridge.
in their fridge. Um, Avocados, like not putting avocados in the fridge is a huge one. So, not in their fridge. Let's talk about on their counter for a second, but your fruit bowl.
Mm,
So, apples, oranges, and bananas should never be stored together. So
okay.
they're actually frenemies and should be stored far away from each other. So citrus, if you can keep it in the produce drawer with those avocados, they're going to last for months. If you don't know, apples are normally a year old when you get them. So yeah,
My mouth.
they're
If you're
only
watch if you're watching on YouTube, my facial expression, I'm like, "Excuse me?"
yeah, apples around the world are only picked in the fall.
So we're
So
eating apples that are like my mind is currently blown.
So when you're buying items that are in season and rotating those items out, you're getting excited about the new seasons. Like I rarely buy an apple in July because I know that it was picked in September, and so, get those watermelons or, get excited. And then when fall comes again, like be excited for the new crops that are coming out. But yeah, everybody that's buying apples right now, in the middle of the summertime are getting apples that were picked last fall. So normally, like those you would want to keep in your refrigerator if you're getting them in the summertime when they're not fresh, but keep them away from citrus, but never put them in that fruit bowl together. And then bananas will just destroy everything. So if you're keeping bananas near anything, like it's just going to make everything just spoil a lot quicker because they release so much ethylene. And those I normally keep on a banana hanger on like another counter away from other things. But even if you don't buy organic, if you buy organic bananas and avocados, they will help you save money because they're not sprayed with ethylene, which is a growth ripening hormone. So both of those are shipped in, to the ports and they're rock hard or like bright green when they arrive, for bananas. And then magically they are sprayed with ethylene and then they are, shipped from the warehouses on the truck and they arrive at the grocery store and they're perfect because, they plan that out, but they're only perfect for like 3 days because they have that growth ripening hormone that's sprayed on them. So if you can buy the organic ones that are ripening naturally, like they should be, then they will last a lot longer too. So those two items, even if you don't care about, anything organic, those two items will actually help you save money because they're not sprayed with the extra ethylene, just what they naturally produce.
Oh my goodness. Okay. The more you know, I tell ya. Okay, favorite meal to make when you don't feel like cooking.
If I'm not pulling anything out of the freezer, it's always quesadillas. Like
Ooh.
that's like our go-to. Like it makes everybody happy. I can add beans to it, like whatever if I have any extra meat that we have left over in the refrigerator, but quesadillas are pretty much a go-to if I haven't pulled anything out. And then, other things like actually today, which is kind of funny, but like pulling a whole chicken out of the freezer, you can pull that out and put it in Instapot frozen and it will cook in an hour. So I'm actually doing that today because we are preparing for a move and I have one in there that I want to make sure that we use because we're moving like 4 hours away. So I've been working for the last like 2 months trying to use things up in our freezer, but that is a great one, to be able to cook a whole chicken. It doesn't take very long. You can be busy, you just throw it in there and then come back an hour later and you have dinner like completely made. But for us, that also means we have leftovers for the
Yeah.
next couple days too that we can repurpose. So, which is really great.
I love that. Okay, last question. For someone just starting out with your methods, what's the first tweak you would tell them to try this week?
Try to spread out going to the grocery store even one day. Like,
Mm.
can you go one more day without going to the grocery store? Like, if you can go 2 days without going to the grocery store, that is great. Like wherever you are in that cycle of your habits of going to the grocery store, if you could just spread it out a little bit longer. Is there something in your house that you can use a little bit differently that can fill in that gap? Like we use Greek yogurt instead of sour cream, and I use Greek yogurt in multiple different ways instead of sour cream that I'd only use one way. So, like just my buying habits are a little bit different, so I can be a little bit more versatile with things. But, wherever you are on your journey of trying to save money, just staying out of the grocery store and being able to stretch it out even one more day, you will be surprised over the course of the year how much that helps.
I love that. So relatable. And again, it doesn't have to be fancy to feed your family. Find out what works. Okay, Amy, I'm going to put all of the links to where to find you, of course, on YouTube, because everybody's going to want to see your grocery hauls and what you're cooking for dinner. You're also on Instagram and your website. Thank you, Amy, so much. Literally, I think my jaw hit the ground several times during the taping of this. And so I really appreciate you sharing your expertise with my community.
We do have the zero waste produce guide that is available on thecrosslegacy.com. And there is a special discount code for your followers that is simple 15.
Awesome. Okay, well, we'll be sure to put that all in the show notes. Thank you so much, Amy. I hope you have a very smooth move and enjoy your chicken tonight.
Thank you. Have a great day.
If you liked this episode, it would mean so much if you'd share it with a friend or leave a quick rating and review so others can find our show. Until next time, you can find me at Simple Purposeful Living on Instagram and Facebook.